Hello, it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for this week's Friday Sews. I've been quite constructive this week. I've made another pair of jeans and I made two tops that I can wear with them. So I will quickly talk about the jeans because they're just a variation of the ones I made last week. And also I've got a discount code for the top pattern. So if you hold on, I'll tell you about that in a sec. But yeah, so the Farra pants, they're jeans really, aren't they? From Piar. Last week I made the straight leg and they were a lot slimmer fitting than I kind of hoped that they would be. Don't get me wrong, I'm still loving them. I wore them at the weekend. Super comfy and being made out of that super stretchy denim. Couple of people in the comments did say that denim is quite hard to find, and I would agree, and that is why I have some in my stash, because if I ever see it in a fabrics that's a combination of a store and a shop, I tend to buy it rather than that little bit of stretch. You know, it's got a proper, I think it was about 20% stretch. So I did have some more in my stash. This time it was definitely blue denim. And so I made the wide leg version. And I very much like the look of this leg width much more at the moment than the slim leg one. So I'm really glad I made them. I will of course insert some pictures. Yeah, I very much like it. I struggled a little bit when I was wearing the slimmer leg ones at the weekend to work out what shoes to wear with them. You might notice that last week's pictures I was only in my socks, and that's partly because the last few years I've tended to roll up my jeans, and more often than not I wear my Doc Martin boots, but ankle boots quite often, and I bought a really nice pair of chunky loafers this year. But it feels not quite right when I have the jeans the full length, you know, down to the floor. Possibly because I haven't worn many things that length, certainly in a slimmer fit anyway, for a little while, and I've just struggled a little bit. So I've come to the conclusion that what I'm going to do is actually re-hem them and take a little bit off the length. So I'm not going to make them kind of 7/8 length. I'm just going to take them to the ankle so that if I am wearing something like ankle boots, you can see the boot going up into the ankle a little bit rather than it looking just like a big pair of shoes. Does that make sense? When I do it, I'll just take a little pic and show it. It'll be some point in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, but these ones, these wide leg ones, I'm not sure I'd say they were that wide. I have a pair of jeans that I bought that are wide leg, and the hem at the hem, they're like that. You know, it's not so much a flare because it doesn't do that, but it's much wider. And these are not as baggy as that, but to me, much more of what I kind of had in mind. So I'm really pleased that I made them. Still really recommend them. Super comfy. But more importantly, I really wanted a kind of warm, easy, cosy top to wear. We are still in the winter in the UK. I'm very aware that some of you watching are, well, we have all the world really. So we've got some people in Canada who are saying, you know, we've got umpty doodle, you know, meters of snow. And then we've got people that are in Australia who are saying, oh, we're sweltering and it's boiling hot here. So isn't it nice that we have a community where we all come together and we kind of almost feel like we know each other, and yet we're at opposite ends of the world. Anyway, here in the UK, still pretty wintry, and I wanted some kind of cosy, easy to wear tops. Now, this bit of the video is in partnership with Tammy Handmade because I am talking about her Mila jumper. That's what I have the discount code for. But just as a little bit of a reminder before we talk about that, I made one of her summer dresses, I think it's called the Rhea dress, back in the summer out of that Minerva print with bees on, which I really love that dress. I particularly like it has a really nice neckline to it. And for those of you who are in warmer climes at the moment, Her patterns are fantastic for summer dresses. She has some really, really pretty dresses there. For the rest of us, we'll either have to hang on for those or consider those patterns, perhaps if you've got an event on or a bit of a do, a bit of an evening do. But in the meantime, she has released this pattern and it's definitely suitable for this time of year. Now, there's lots of things I like about it. It's designed for knits, so sweatshirting, jersey, sweater knits, that kind of thing. And it's so easy, super, super, super easy. She says she has with it a video tutorial. So really good if you were somebody who wanted to start sewing with knits and perhaps were a bit nervous, or you haven't done that yet, or you just wanted to kind of add an extra skill. She has the video tutorial that walks you through it. And for this kind of pattern, it is really dead simple because it doesn't have set-in sleeves. It has a dropped sleeve. There we go, where is it? There it is, there's the seam. It has a dropped dolman sleeve. So the pattern pieces for the sleeve are cut on the fold. So there's not even a front and a back. Don't have to worry about any of that. It's got a nice shape to it because it tapers down. And you don't even have to worry about adding a band on the end of your sleeve. You literally just turn it under. You have got a band at the neck, so maybe that is something that you might not have done before, that's a little skill to add in, but because Tammy has the video tutorial, she'll walk you through it. For the rest of us who have made this kind of thing before, it's a dead easy, nice, quick one. Good for if you'd lost your sojo and you fancied, just doing something quick and easy, or if you haven't got very much time. Half the reason I made two is because I wanted to see if you could in fact make it in an hour. So this was my first one. I did add a little bit to the length. Strictly speaking, it is cropped in that it kind of hits around the waist. Pattern is drafted, I think, for somebody 5'6". I'm 5'7", not a lot in it. But I was a bit wary of cropped because whilst I'm wearing lots of things that are high-waisted at the moment, and I'm quite almost looking out for things that hit me at the waistline, I didn't want it to be sort of showing bits of tummy. So I added the 5 centimetres on just to be on the safe side. I'm not entirely sure I needed to. But on the other hand, if I wanted to do the old half tuck, sometimes having a little bit of extra length helps with that. Very much the look you're going to get slightly depends on the kind of fabric. This, I am so pleased. This fabric I've had in my stash. I bought it at the Harrogate Knitting and Stitching Show, not last November, the one before. And I think it was from, it's either Felicity Fabrics or Flamingo Fabrics. It's definitely an F. But what I like about it is it has a fleecy inside, but it's not as stiff as a fleece back sweatshirting. It's a bit more snuggly and sort of drapey. So this is working really well and giving me that kind of like, Sunday afternoon, snuggle down, feel warm and cosy vibe. It doesn't have a huge amount of stretch in this fabric, but even though it is designed for stretch fabrics, you don't have to worry too much about having, 50% or anything like that, because the neckline is wide enough that you can get it on over your head without it being sort of mega scooped, which I know not everybody likes because bra straps. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Instructions are great, all the things we need, like finished garment measurements and all the rest of it. Oh, and nice inclusive size range. It goes up to 50, I think it's a 60-inch hip. If that's wrong, I'll put a title. I think it's a 60-inch hip, size 32. So pretty good for everybody. Really, really like it. Before I show you my second one, the discount code that I've got is for 30% off this pattern, off the Mila jumper pattern, and that runs until June. And the code you need is just my channel name, so it's just Alex Judge Sews. Obviously I will put links down below, and I will put the code down there in case you forget, because if you're anything like me, you've forgotten the code already. This stripy one is the one I timed myself on. Now, fabric wise, this has also been in my stash for quite a while. It is traditional fleece back sweatshirting. So again, not a huge amount of stretch to it, but also lovely and cozy on the inside. Now, I made a size 12, and for a size 10, the fabric requirement I think was 1.5 centimetres, and not 1.5 centimetres, 1.5 metres, and for the next size up, so for a size 12 and beyond, it was 2 metres. So I thought, right, I had 1.5 metres of this, and I thought, look, I'm making a size 12, but I'll try and squeeze it out. And I managed that with no problem whatsoever, and that's with the extra 5 centimetres on the length. When I came to dig this out and measure how big the piece of fabric was, I found that I had 1.25 centimetres of this. So I wasn't entirely sure whether I would manage, bearing in mind, strictly speaking, a size 12 would be 2 metres, but clearly I did, and I didn't even manage with too much difficulty. This one is the actual length without the added 5 centimetres, and whilst I was timing myself, so I didn't go into huge amounts of effort to match up my seams, and they aren't perfect, I did try to cut the pieces out so at least the hem would land on the same colour stripe at front and back. Yeah, let me just put it on, because I feel like this one in this fabric, which is a little bit looser and a bit drapier, has more of a kind of loose, cozy jumper feel. This one feels more like a sweatshirt. I'm not sure how best to describe it really. Anyway, I'll put it on. Maybe it would be better doing it visually. Okay, so yeah, exactly the same size, but I feel this one has a slightly more structured look to it. But that fleece back sweatshirting, it's just such a cosy fabric, isn't it? And look, my pattern matching, bearing in mind I didn't pay too much attention to it. I can't remember which side it is, but one side is better than the other side. It's not too bad, is it? I'm trying really hard not to get too bogged down into those kind of little details that we don't even notice when we buy clothes in the shops. And, you know, I could have spent hours painstakingly matching the stripes, and I didn't feel it was necessary. I did make both tops pretty much all on, well, yeah, pretty much all on my overlocker, including the neckband. But going back to my point about if you were somebody who wanted to give knits a go, you could easily make the entire thing on a sewing machine, because a lot of these fabrics don't fray. So you wouldn't even need to worry about doing seam finishing. You'd just use a zigzag stitch on your regular domestic sewing machine. And you don't have to worry about doing cuffs. You're just turning up the cuffs, but you are setting in the neckband. So, you know, that's something that you could perhaps have a little go at. It's really not as scary as it looks. But I did twin stitch, top stitch down the neckband and my sleeves. So again, bit of a play with a twin needle. Again, not as scary as people think. I used to be really apprehensive about those kind of things. I thought I would never get them right, and I'd have a neckband that was, you know, 2.5 centimetres at one end and 0.5 centimetre at the other. But really, you can do it, especially when you've got a video tutorial to follow. So that really helps. Yeah, with this one, I decided to do, because I've got stripes here, they're red and orange, aren't they? And sort of peachy colour. I put different colour threads again in my twin needle. So one is red and one is kind of matching the peachy colour. And that was going beautifully until the twin needle broke, and this sleeve right when I was on that sleeve. So I haven't managed to find one locally. They only had twin needles that weren't for stretch fabrics, and you definitely need a stretch needle. But yeah, I'll just turn it up for the time being and wait till I get a new twin needle. But yeah, so this is the one I timed, and I did it in 50 minutes. And I'll be honest, I wasn't even kind of going hell for leather, you know, not having a stop for a cup of coffee or anything. I just pootled along with it. So a nice, quick, easy sew. Eminently hackable in terms of the length. So yeah, as I say, this is pretty much out of the packet in terms of the length. Didn't add anything on. And I'm quite comfortable with this length. One of my daughters, my younger daughter, is very fond of things that are high-waisted, and she likes to wear crop tops with high-waisted things. And again, she doesn't want to show tummy, but she was saying that a lot of things for her and her body shape, even when they're cropped, are not cropped enough. So with this one, you don't have to worry about lengthen and shorten lines or anything. You literally just reduce or add to the hemline. So dead easy. Something really nice about a quick, easy pattern, isn't there? Especially if, like me, you know, I really enjoy making things like jeans and shirts and things that you can really get your teeth into. But it's also really nice to do something, you know, dead simple and dead quick. I mentioned to Tammy that I'd made 2 of these, and she said she's made 8. And I think she's made some for friends as well. I can see why. It's one of those patterns that you just make loads of. I've been a bit lax recently about sending my sewing patterns out to be printed. I got very good last year at planning ahead, and anything that I bought I was sending off to Fabuloso to have printed out, because none of us enjoy the PDF experience, do we? But for some reason I sort of got out of the habit. I think I've not been very good at pre-planning. And so I've been having to do the dreaded lick and stick. And this one is quite good because it's only 15 pages. So yeah, I quite like that. But I've got to get back in the habit of sending things out, because otherwise you end up spending half your day taping together a pattern and not doing the actual fun stuff. So yes, discount code for 30% off until June is Alex Judge Sews. It will be below. In the meantime, I was going to say I haven't done much, but that's pretty good, isn't it? A pair of jeans and 2 tops. I've been home alone this week. Dave has been in Dubai. He will hopefully be back by the time this video goes up. He only went on Monday and he's coming back on Friday. It seems like a long way to go for a few days. Anyway, he's been out giving a talk on something or another. So it's just been me, and it's been really strange because, you know, it feels like it was not that long ago there were 5 of us here, and now it was just me and the dogs. Very odd experience, going and doing a food shop for one person. But on the other hand, it has meant that I've had lots of time here and not had to kind of think about anything other than the things I fancy doing. One thing that I have spent quite a bit of time doing this week that's sewing related is looking for a missing piece of fabric. It must have been before Christmas. I talked about the fact that I had some fabric coming from Simply Fabrics that was ex-Gucci. It was a cashmere and wool, I presume, blend, suiting, black. There was a fault on the selvage, which is why they were selling it. And I was planning to make a blazer from it with, hold on, it's here, let me show you, this silk scarf, which I was going to line it with. Ideally the whole thing, but if not, just the back. And super excited about it. I ordered it around the time that we had, well, we still have got strikes going on in the UK, but the postal strikes were particularly constant pre-Christmas, and post really just wasn't coming through at all. So it took a long time to arrive. It doesn't usually from Simply Fabrics. And when it did arrive, it arrived at the sort of same time as all the Christmas mayhem. I can't remember if it was before or after Christmas, but it was around the time I wasn't sewing. I know I opened it, I know I looked at it and thought, oh, that's marvellous, finally it's arrived. But I don't know, I would have put it in here. Where is it? I don't know. I am hoping like mad it didn't get thrown out with, you know, all the endless packaging that you have at Christmas. I've searched my stash, which, as you know, I only tidied recently, but I went back up there and went through in case it was hiding somewhere. I searched my, this is where I have to admit, I've got an overflow stash, which is down in the basement. So I searched down there. I searched where I keep all the remnants in a drawer under my daughter's bed in case I'd accidentally put it in there, not thinking it's not there. I've got these 2 boxes here. I thought, oh, I know, I bet I've put it in there. No, I looked in there, they're full of things to be altered, so I quickly closed those back and decided to ignore them. I don't know where it is. And it's so annoying. Why is it, of all the fabric that I've lost the blooming Gucci fabric? I'm hoping like mad that it will just materialise somewhere. I lost my AirPods recently. I put them in at night to drown out the sound of my lovely husband snoring. Couldn't find them for 3 days, and then I changed the bedding and they were inside the pillowcase. So I'm hoping that my Gucci fabric will just turn up somewhere in a similar, I mean it won't be in the pillowcase, but in a similar kind of place, because at this point in time it is driving me insane looking for it. And I don't, no, I wouldn't have pre-washed it. I was too busy at that point. I definitely didn't pre-wash it. So anyway, if anybody can manifest or send positive vibes, tell me where my fabric is, I would really appreciate it. I did also want to say thank you very much to all the people who mentioned the video here on YouTube from Abby's Den, which was how to clean your overlocker. I did go and have a look at it. I'll link it below. Whilst she was not cleaning the same model of overlocker that I have, mine is a Genome. It's a really common one. Everyone, lots of people have this model. What is it? 9200D. Yeah, whilst hers wasn't the same model, and so there were some differences, the concept was the same. I really appreciated being able to just look at that and feel reassured. And opening it all up was quite fascinating. It was revolting. And that's bearing in mind, I think that I clean it quite a lot. Yeah, so it was a good job. I didn't necessarily do the sensible thing and put the screws in a sensible order. So when I came to put screws back in, I'm not sure that they're necessarily all the correct screw in the correct place, but the machine is working. Yeah, it's a really good job to do. So check that out if it's something you've kind of had in mind. My overlocker is now, I mean, it was working fine before, but it is working really beautifully. Last time I sent it off to be serviced, it cost me, I think it was £120. So, you know, that's a saving, isn't it? Yeah, we could all do with saving at the moment, especially those of us who've had their handbags stolen. Anyway, that is a different story. In the meantime, I do have in mind what I'm going to make for the next week, but I don't think I'm going to tell you. Not because I'm being difficult or that there's anything mysterious, but I have had a little revelation recently. I tend to make notes pretty much every day or every couple of days. I have a notebook and put in all my bits and pieces I need to do, you know, boring stuff, take dog to vet or whatever. But also sewing things. And I found that if I write a list of ideas that I've got in mind of things I'd like to sew, that's okay. But if I turn it into a to-do list, I never want to actually sew the things. I think they suddenly become a chore or a job rather than a pleasure and something I want to make. Psychologically, I don't know why that makes the difference, but it does. And I have found the same thing happens here. So if I say I'm definitely going to make something, the next day I think, oh, really? It's become a job. And this is a hobby, not a job. So I'm not going to tell you what I've got in mind for the next week ahead, but I'll show you, won't I? So yeah, pop back next week and I'll hopefully have something to show you. Just wanted to say, by the way, I noticed that a good, I really appreciate all the support I get from everybody and all the comments. I really like the community we've got around these videos and the whole sewing community, really. But I did notice that a good third of people that watch don't subscribe, and it really does make a difference to the channel being visible and other people seeing me and kind of the dreaded YouTube algorithm if people subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed and you watch regularly, I would really appreciate it if you would. It really does make a big difference. But yes, I think that's pretty much it for now. Thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget the discount for the Miele jumper, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.